Hannah. I made a video a few days ago, but I thought I'd do another one, a little less formal and with a couple of extra ideas along with the couple that I shared the other day. I am a therapist and anxiety treatment is my specialty, but I'm also a person and I feel anxiety. In fact, here's some good news. As long as you live, you will have anxiety. That is good news because it's not a character flaw. You're not doing anything wrong because you feel anxious. In fact, you might even notice some other things like feeling more or less tired, more or less irritable, more or less hungry. You might even be extra cheerful. There's a number of different responses you can have right now that are all absolutely normal. You probably are also looking around at other people and wondering, what in the world are they doing? Why are we hoarding toilet paper and going out on the beach during quarantine? Again, this is all normal. The reason for that is we tend to react and act in most days on autopilot, on familiar, everyday, efficient systems. You don't usually think about every little thing you're doing. And we really want to hold on to that sense of normal, that sense of familiarity, because your brain is an anticipation engine and wants to know what's coming next all the time in order to keep us safe and efficient. So it's actually quite normal. Have some patience and compassion with yourself and others, although feel free, please, to put in boundaries and to ask for what you want during this very difficult time. Now, I want you to think of your brain like it was a file cabinet and that you had something called the executive assistant sitting up in the front part of your brain. When you're on autopilot doing your everyday stuff, that is perfectly wonderful. Your executive assistant does exactly what it's supposed to do, just pulls things out of the file, like you're sitting at your desk and you decide you want coffee. You don't have to think, get up, take left foot go, right foot go, left foot go. You don't have to do any of that. You just simply get up and do it. That's autopilot. However, when everything is so out of whack, the executive assistant gets really overwhelmed. That's when you want something called mindfulness, when you're in the present moment with the executive assistant helping them make better choices. Without that, you're going to be pulling from all kinds of files, way, way, way back into childhood and all sorts of things. Be nice to yourself. It's normal. Okay, so let me give you a couple of ideas that might help. The first one is called pushing away. Pushing away is a technique where you maybe get a little notepad and you write down all your concerns and worries, just line like that. And then you go back and you look at each one of them and you ask yourself two questions. Number one, can I do anything about this worry? And number two, is now a good time to do it? So suppose it's 2 in the morning and you have a concern that your mother is mad at you. You probably could call her on the phone, but it probably wouldn't be a very good time to do it. So check each one. Once you determine that you can't do anything and that now is not a good time, if it is a good time, go ahead and work on it. But if not, imagine yourself in your mind taking those worries and putting them on a shelf and pushing them away, or putting them in a box and pushing them away. Using that right side of your brain to make imagery. Left side is language and logic. Right side is body and imagery. So you imagining that can actually help your central nervous system relax and help your executive assistant let go of the ruminating. Another one that can be very helpful, I mentioned the other day, is called the 10-10-10 technique. 10-10-10. What that is a way of giving your brain something to help you measure all of this. You ask yourself how you think you're going to feel about something in 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, 10 weeks, and so on. For example, the current pandemic. In 10 minutes, you're probably going to feel anxious and worried. In 10 hours, maybe even a bit of the same. But in 10 days, we're going to have a lot more information. and maybe even see a light at the end of the tunnel. And certainly in 10 weeks, we're going to be working toward rebuilding and getting ourselves back toward a probably slightly adjusted normal. Okay? So it gives that anticipation engine something to grasp onto. Something that can help with that is scheduling worry time. Yes, absolutely. Schedule worry time. Imagine taking your little notebook with you, and when worries and things pop up at different times of the day, you write them down, but you decide, say in the morning at a certain point, what time of the day you have free to sit down and mindfully plan and worry. Maybe that'll be the time you check the news stations and such. But in between, you need to let it go, and you need to keep working on turning your mind to the present moment of what you're doing rather than all the worries. It's exercise, let me tell you. It's not easy to do. But imagine if your job was to carry a load of bricks from one place to another. You could manage it because you can let go of the bricks. But if you kept just adding bricks and adding bricks, eventually you crack. It's too much. So we want to let the brain have a little bit of a break and develop trust in ourselves that says, I'm actually going to work on my problems. It probably won't do much the first few times, but if you get a good habit of this, it's one of the most effective things that you can do. Okay, couple more. One is called coping in advance. Oh my goodness, did you know that you could cope in advance? Coping in advance. Again, we're going to use the mental imagery system of our brain, and we're going to sit down and mindfully think of our fear. We're going to imagine ourselves losing our job, or not being able to pay a bill, or having to sit in the house for 14 days, whatever it is, interacting with the children. We're going to imagine it, but we're going to imagine how we would cope well with it. What would we have to do in order to manage it well? That again engages the right side of the brain, and when the actual thing happens, if it even does, we'll be able to quickly move into that practiced, calm, healthy, helpful technique of whatever way we want to manage it. So coping in advance. Don't do that right before you go to sleep. Pick a time during the day and be very mindful while you're doing it. The last one I have is called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is helpful for times when you're super anxious, you've got all kinds of ruminating thoughts going through your head, and rumination just means that the thought repeats. Maybe you're laying in bed and you're trying to sleep, or you just can't concentrate on work, or you're just panicky. What you do then is you list 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel through your skin, not with emotions, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste, or would like to hear, taste, or smell if there's nothing in the room. For example, if it were me and I was anxious, I might say, I see a chair, I see a picture, I see a calendar, I see a lamp, I see a bottle. I feel the chair under me, I feel my hair on my neck, I feel my glasses on my face, I feel the breeze in the room. I hear my cat outside, I hear a wind blowing, whatever. You get the idea. Maybe you would say, I'd like to smell lavender, I'd like to taste chocolate cake, whatever it is. The idea is to kind of pull yourself out of the scary thoughts and get yourself into a neutral place. Make sure the things you list are neutral or pleasant. If somebody's yelling in the backyard, don't list that. But keep yourself in a place where you are doing what you can to choose your thinking, moderate your thinking, give your brain something to hold on to make some kind of measurements with, and mostly be kind to yourself. The feeling out of whack right now is absolutely normal for you and for everyone else. Thank you for taking the time, and I hope this was helpful.